Okay, so at Vaxgen, we've put, between Genentech and Vaxgen, just about 20 years into this, which a little less than $300 million invested, and frankly, there's still a long way to go even now. Let me go through what we have done here on a timeline. You won't be able to read all of this, but Genentech is in the left-hand side. When you get to this stipple, it was Vaxgen as we moved over. And the yellow here are the final vaccine products that went through phase 1, 2, and then ultimately these huge phase 3 studies that I'll get into. Important here is just on the left side of that, of the middle, Genentech, before we protected chimpanzees. We understood the science. We could manufacture the outside of the virus. The nice thing about recombinant technology is you can make these pieces of virus, never having a live virus in your lab, which for 100% fatal virus is a good thing, not only for the people that receive the vaccine, but it's also a good thing for the people working in the lab where they don't get infected. Because for vaccines, you have to grow massive amounts of virus in order to make a vaccine. So we went through using all the talent of Genentech's recombinant technology, made the outer coat protein of the virus through recombinant technology, and ultimately had to see if it would work. Now, unlike many diseases, like SARS, for example, which would be a very ideal target for such a technology, where you could use a variety of small animals for your vaccine studies to see if the vaccine would actually protect. Unfortunately, with HIV, in the evolution of animal kingdom, you have to lose your tail before you're susceptible to HIV. So that means only the great apes and humans are susceptible. And those are tough animals to do experiments on, very expensive. But we went ahead and did our chimpanzee studies and were able to protect chimpanzees are probably the natural source for HIV originally. They do better with it. They probably were the source in Africa as people slaughtered chimpanzees for eating, for what they call bushmeat, and probably stuck themselves during the butchering process, and that's probably how AIDS came out of the jungle years ago. So the chimps are the only animals you can really do vaccine experiments on. And in the early 90s, we at Genentech did the chimpanzee studies, the first time in history that we were able to see that with a huge intravenous challenge, we could protect against HIV infection in that model. But you can't do, these are, 5 chimps in each experiment. You have to do small, don't have large numbers of chimps, so you can't do all the variations you'd like in terms of challenges, et cetera. But we thought we could at least make a vaccine. We designed it as best we could and went on to do these studies. In the BB vaccine, we call it, was in North America and Europe, and the BE vaccine trial was in Thailand, in Bangkok. This is where the money came from. Genentech put about $50 million into this before we spun off Vaxgen. Vaxgen raised $130 million for the vaccine development and trials, essentially the phase 3 trials. These are 7,000 people ultimately in these trials in a half a dozen countries. And then with Celltrion, that's our manufacturing facility. There was no way to make this vaccine if we had a successful vaccine, and there's a 5-6 year lead time in making a manufacturing plant. So we got money from Korea ultimately to build a large manufacturing plant in Korea, which is indeed being built as we speak, so that we'll be ready for the launch of the vaccine. Now the plant's going to be ready, and we don't have the vaccine, but there's plenty of other recombinant proteins that it can be used for. That's how much it cost, and this is where it came from, almost entirely from private capital, a little bit from the US government. The government was not the best partner in this, and nothing from the non-government organizations, which now is important because the Gates Foundation is an NGO, is going to put lots of money into this ultimately. So this was private investors who, yes, wanted to do good in making an AIDS vaccine, but ultimately wanted to do well financially. I remember when, as someone totally naive at going out and raising capital, thought, well, there's different people in the audience, and we're giving the spiels. We did probably hundreds of times to different investors. And I said, you can do good to invest in our company, or you can do well financially if we're successful. And the bankers with us said, no, you got to cut that out of your talk. These people are here for greed, and they're not here to save the world, which indeed is the case for a business opportunity. So we took the do good out, and only at the end said, this is a good idea anyway, which indeed a lot of investors did this. It was high risk, but it was a fun ride and continues to be.